Today in the studio, folks, I've got a real live one for you. Derek Moneyberg. What's cracking, Derek?
How you doing, Brad? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming, man. Entrepreneur, investor, wealth coach. It says here, my team throws me some notes once in a while. Derek Moneyberg brand was launched in 2019, and you've quickly risen to be one of the world's leading wealth coaches, helping clients to launch or accelerate their businesses, invest their capital for beyond professional returns in global securities and real estate. You've also coached a broad range of clients all across the world, from renowned artists to professional athletes to royalty. What kind of royalty? Middle East?
Yeah, some Middle East money.
Middle East money. That's big dough.
Some of them have some big dough.
You get a little piece of that? A little piece for your niece?
I just get a little coaching commission.
A little fraction of the action?
Just a little fraction.
So if you get somebody that's willing to invest like ridic money, like Middle East money, are your commissions gargantuan?
Not enough. Not nearly enough.
Now, what makes you, other than your cool name, Moneyberg? Is that even a real name, or is that a brand?
It's a real name. It's on that paper you're reading.
Yeah, but like that, you'd be lucky to get that name, Moneyberg.
My last name was Buszkowski, and it's a Polish name. And nobody can pronounce it, and even if you have that name, you can't pronounce it properly. So Moneyberg rings a bit better for the public, doesn't it?
Yeah, Moneyberg. That's a cool name. Oh, Moneyberg. Is that what people call you, Moneyberg? They don't even use Derek, do they?
Yeah, most people say Derek, but except my parents, I'd like them to refer to me as Moneyberg or Mr. Moneyberg. But only my parents. Nobody else has to call me Mr.
So what qualifies you, Derek, Mr. Moneyberg, to know all this stuff? Did you accidentally get rich yourself?
Yeah, accidentally, yeah. About as accidental as you did.
Dude, I'll tell you, I am an accident. I just keep making the best freaking accidents on earth.
Yeah, it was only 35 years of labor and work to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
It only took me a third of a century.
So let's go back to your story. Like, where were you 35 years ago?
Well, I was 7. I made my first entrepreneurial dollar when I was 7. And I was doing all sorts of little things, walking dogs or shoveling snow or raking leaves.
USA?
Yeah, Illinois.
Okay.
And I just grew up very poor. My father was not in the house. My mother was a bit of a mess of a person, and I didn't want to be poor as an adult. So I started paying attention to entrepreneurial things. And at that age, I didn't have any good role models at all. I had a lot of shit role models, and I suspect you had some of those stories in your own life. So you had a lot of good examples of what not to do, but I was lacking examples and things that would be industrious or things I should be doing long term. So. Through trial and error and a lot of painful guess and check, that gave me some foundations for entrepreneurship and understanding how things worked in the world. And we have something in common. I'm also a high school dropout. Later on, I said I got 3 university degrees later. I went to University of Chicago for graduate school, went through their MBA program. So, the short answer is, 9 years in university, and I actually did all the shit that I talk about, rather than a lot of people like to talk about things that they never did. Yeah. So a lot of people in that industry that like to talk about things they don't have any damn clue. They never did it themselves. But I did those things before I ever offered any coaching on it. So,
do you think the education you got at the college was instrumental in your success?
Having those type of degrees, that was the number 1 ranked business school when I was there. It was ranked higher than Harvard. It was 416 MBA programs. I was ranked number 1. And people respond to your email or take your call because of that sometimes, sure.
But it's a door opener.
There's
credibility factor.
With rare exceptions, you have professors there that were either academic professors or clinical professors, and the clinical professors did things in real life, and maybe for their retirement job after they made a few $100 million or a couple $1 billion, then they teach a course over there.
Is that who's teaching courses?
A few of them. Now, most of them have a PhD, which means they're broke. Means they got a $300,000 salary and they find a way to spend it, and maybe they got a nice house and a nice car and a lot of bills. So that's what most professors are doing, even at the top schools.
Well, that's what I assumed. Because I always say, why would you go to college now when you can connect right with the people doing it?
Well, when I graduated, a decade or so ago from the graduate school, and at that time you could still learn something in a university. Today, a university is a joke. It's a place where you used to go there to learn something and be smarter, And now you go there to be dumber when you graduate. You go there for a bunch of nonsense indoctrination more than you go to learn about actual money, even in a business school.
Well, if there's people there that made a couple $100 million teaching classes, I'd take their course.
Yeah.
But there's not a bunch of those.
You have a few. At the top schools, you have a few people.
You just
like
wanted
that.
to get some sort of credibility behind you.
Well, again, grew up poor, didn't have shit, really didn't have shit. And
who's going to listen to a dropout?
Yeah. So I thought it was important to have those credentials. And the money is more important. I haven't had a job since I was 19. I'm 42. So I didn't go there to have a job. I didn't go to college to get a job. But, then you have to interpret everything while you're going through university courses. You have to reinterpret that how does that apply to my entrepreneurial future? How does that apply to my entrepreneur presence? How does that apply to investments now and in the future? So you have to translate that. They teach you how to get a job, So you have to translate that information. Well, how do I actually make money with this? And how do you help other people make money?
So when did you start making dough?
Yeah, I started making money. I had money when I was a teenager. I found a way to turn a few tens of thousands into zero. And then I had a couple $100,000 in my early 20s, and I found a way to turn that into zero.
How'd you make the couple $100,000?
Real estate at that time. And then, I was smart enough to not keep buying things in the last recession, the 2008 crash. Too dumb to sell the things I had in 2006, 2007. Smart enough to not keep buying them in 2006, 2007. So I never had a bankruptcy. I never had a business bankruptcy or a personal bankruptcy, but I made money and lost it a couple times. And then I decided to pay a little more attention and try not to lose it again. So I got a good run of that right now.
Do you think real estate is the best investment going right now?
I think the stock market's phenomenal. There's nothing as good as when you have a good panic in the stock market. It's a long, nerdy conversation about some of the structure of that. But when you have a good panic in the stock market, you have such a great confluence of circumstance where people are scared and they're selling and selling and selling. And some of the funds, they have these, nonsense marketing things that they use on the front end to raise money during good times. So they'll say that, we don't buy cheap stock. We don't buy any stocks under $10, which is totally arbitrary and nonsense. They'll say things like, you can never lose more than 5%. So, if a stock goes down a few percent, they'll sell the stock. It has nothing to do with the fundamentals, if it's a good company or not. It's just marketing talk for middle-class people that don't know any better. So there's a lot of things like that happen when you have a good sell-off, that you have a cascade of events of, the price gets driven lower and lower because funds are forced to sell and people get scared and they sell their individual things. And I love to buy things when they're on sale. I love that. So I think that's the best opportunity in the market. When you have opportunities like that, you can multiply your net worth more rapidly than any other time.
How do you know which ones to buy?
Well, that's that nerd university stuff that kind of helps with that you can read some financial statements and understand finance and understand accounting. Some of the finance things they teach you, they're truly useless. Some of them are really, there's a professor there, his name's Eugene Fama. And Eugene, Nobel Prize winner. He's cited in 1.5 million academic papers, world famous. I'm never going to get a Nobel Prize. Maybe I will. There's a president I don't care for much got one. So if he could get one, probably you and I are more deserving. So any case, but Eugene came up with this thing, efficient markets hypothesis. And there's half a dozen things about that are just stupid and they just don't mirror the real world. And I'm never going to get a Nobel Prize, but Eugene's twice my age, and I have a lot more than twice his net worth. So,
what is the fundamentals? Share it with the audience. If you're going to invest in the stock market, what are the fundamentals?
I don't want to buy anything that I don't understand.
Because like you say, look at their financials. Every time I go to the stock market, start looking at companies, where the fuck are their financials?
They're public companies. Any publicly traded.
No, but where do you go get them?
On the internet.
You just Google.
Yeah, you could find their quarterly statements and annual statements quite easily.
Are they certified and authentic? How do you know that they're not bullshit?
They're as certified as they could be. That you have external auditors. No, you have external auditors that look at all of those. And somebody's going to prison if they lied on those statements, like Enron did years ago.
Were you invested in that?
No, I didn't. That's 20 years ago, and no, I wasn't invested in Enron. I don't like the popular, trendy thing. I like to buy boring shit that's out of favor.
Do you listen to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett?
I like Charlie a lot. I think Charlie is one of the most brilliant people still alive.
Yeah, he says when everybody's running towards, run away, and when everyone's running away, run towards.
Yeah.
So, but which is contradictory to most intelligence. Like if everyone's moving towards it, you should move towards it. But no, that's not accurate.
I mean, going back to the time of Socrates, or certainly it wasn't his original idea either. But if most people are doing something, it's a good reason to question why in many cases.
How much money should one person save before they start dicking with the stock market?
It's good that you ask the question, but when people, I'm sure you teed it up with this intention, but when people say that, I think, well, where the fuck would you start except where you're at right now? Just start where you're at.
Well, I mean, because, dude, you can make 100% of your money and end up with $12.
Or you could wait 10 years and not learn anything and then be, a decade behind in your education.
But there has to be some sort of balance to start with. Like you don't start with $100. And if you do, well then shit, tell me.
Brad, I think I say it this way, is I think the best way to make money, if you're broke, then you need to be doing something entrepreneurial. And you might have your own business, or you might be working within somebody else's business. Something you talk a bit about is having entrepreneurial incentives, even if you're an employee technically in someone else's business. There's a lot of structures that could be set up that your pay is pay for performance, entrepreneurial in nature. And if you don't have a lot of money yet, then do that. That's no excuse to not get an education, to not be learning about finance, to not be learning about investments while you're doing those other entrepreneurial. People pretend like these are like different spheres or something. That like, no, it's all business. It's all business, entrepreneurship and invest. If you don't understand entrepreneurship, you don't know shit about investing in a stock. What is entrepreneurship? Is like learning about how to conduct business. And it's the real world learning of like, how do we make money in the real world? How do you deliver value to a customer consistently and retain that customer and have good word of mouth and so on, and getting those systems in place and getting your mind in the right place. And if you can't do that on a small scale, then how the hell would you be able to identify, a publicly traded company that's doing that well or not doing that well? So these are not mutually exclusive things. These are not separate things. They're not in silos. That you need to understand all three of those things together.
Folks, if you guys want to follow him, Derek Moneyberg, at Derek Moneyberg, or go to moneyberg.com. Now, if I'm like looking at the stock market today, are there any shit you better go buy this, and this? Of course, that's not financial advice, but you need to go buy this, and this. Is there anything people should buy?
I don't recommend specific stocks. I talk with my clients. I talk about stocks that I own, and I tell them why I own those things or why I don't own other things. But you run into troubles when you start telling somebody, "Oh, you should buy this." So I would never say it like that. Something I like at the moment that I've done very well on is Class A malls. Malls are very out of favor. There's this narrative that the death of retail. Well, I'm up $600,000 today. Well, people are, the media is probably still saying the death of retail after I'm up, 372% in the last year. So I can't do that every year, by the way.
Well, what made you do that though? What, intuition, some sort of sign? Like I got Robinhood one time. I put $5,000 in it just because I don't dick with the stock markets very much, because I think it's an inside game. Like you got to know what you're doing, and I've never taken the time to learn it. I will here in a couple of years, but I don't really dick with it much.
It's no more of an insider game than golf is.
Well, I mean, dude, you got to know some shit. Like you got to know some shit, and I don't know shit when it comes to stocks.
You probably know more than you think you do.
Well,
in the sense that you know a lot about business.
Well, I got Robinhood, right? So when the whole COVID bullshit started happening, I said, dude, I'll bet you anything Bill Gates' vaccine company's going to do pretty well, Moderna. So I went and bought some Moderna. Well, it started to do decent, and then everyone came out with the vaccine, and it's a scam and all the conspiracy shit. And I thought, oh, this motherfucker's going to crash now. So I sold it. Well, it didn't. It fucking shot through the roof. I should have just stayed. My dumb ass sold it. So Moderna, I jumped in and jumped out wrong. What was another one? There was a couple that I thought to myself, like Tesla. They're getting pretty popular. So there was a Chinese version of a Tesla called Nui or I forget. But anyway, I bought that because dude, Tesla's going strong here. This is the China version of Tesla. It's got to be doing the same thing. It went up. I doubled and almost tripled my money on that one. And then I forget what, maybe I still own it. I don't even know. But that one I did okay. But I'm just making some basic assumptions. I don't have any freaking inside knowledge. I didn't look at their financials. I didn't go deeper than a thought. But I was also only dicking with $5,000. Like if I had 5 million in the stock market, I'd be wanting to see some financials and I'd want to know exactly what I'm doing, because you can lose your ass in the stock markets.
Yeah,
and a lot of people do.
And you can make your life in the stock market, and a lot of people do.
That's true. That is true. You got to point there, but most don't.
When you go through my Markets Mastery course, you're going to understand a lot more about how the stock market works.
But most don't. Most lose.
Most people are dumb as shit, but it's not my comparative other in life, and it doesn't tend to be my client's
What do you charge for your money markets
others. Course? $5,000 paid in full.
No, why paid in full?
Because if I need a payment plan, then if I have to do extra admin stuff, then I need to have extra money, don't I?
You're a shrewd businessman. Now, are you Jewish, or it sounded like Polish?
50%.
That's
on my father's side.
That's where the Berg comes in?
The real Jews say you're not a real Jew if it's on your father's side. But
why?
That's their tradition. So only your mother can make you to pass on the heritage, apparently.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
That's their tradition.
But that's why you threw the Berg in there, to signify. And not only that, dude, everybody knows that like the Jewish community stick together. That's what I like. My buddy's a Jewish fella, and he's cool as hell. And I'm like, dude, how do I become Jewish?
Yeah.
He goes, you want to become Jewish?
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, yeah. He said, why? I said, because y'all stick together, man.
And make money.
They all make money.
The stereotype's true. There's a reason stereotypes
Well, the stereotype
exist.
I heard, that they don't like to spend it. Again, I've had 2 or 3 good buddies that happen to be Jewish, and they all fucking spent money.
No, I spend a lot of money, but
yeah,
make sure
I see
make
your
a lot
watch.
more than I spend.
That ain't cheap. So, what did you get it at a good deal?
Yeah, you buy things like this. You buy these used. This is a Patek, and I don't pay retail for anything. It's in my last name, as you've
Do you have courses for that?
Oh, you probably want to join my negotiations module. Is in my entrepreneurship course of Moneyberg mentoring.
Sure. Is it just a video?
No, we spend in that course we spend 12 weeks together. That this is not for normal people. It's not for mass market. It's not for normal people. It's for people that already have a above average work ethic. They're already good at something. They want to be they want to make a serious effort and be good about this too. And you're going to spend 20 hours a week. I tell them you're going to work your ass off. You're going to curse me. You're going to curse yourself. And 12 weeks later, you're going to thank me. And more importantly, you're going to thank yourself. And it's not for get rich quick people. It's not for losers that they want a get rich quick overnight. It's for serious people that are already good at something. They have a good work ethic, and you're going to spend a couple hundred hours of work. And we spend a lot of time together. Every week I have a 4-hour call where I talk to the clients directly. They can ask me any questions, anything at all about that week's assignment, about the homework, the reading.
And what's the result?
A lot of the clients are doing very well. They have fantastic reviews.
Like scale their business or get into the stock market successfully?
Yeah. Yeah, I had people telling me that in the last week I had a message from a guy who sold a business a few years ago. Not a big exit, had a couple $1 million, and he told me the other day he had $8 million, that he just crossed $8 million in the stock market. Like, the guy that's a doctor, he's in Germany, he doesn't know shit about business except for going through my courses, never went to a business school, any of that stuff. And a couple $1 million. He's in his early 30s,
Well, let's drop a few freebies.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, how can number one, do you know of any stock everyone should go buy real quick?
It's a baited question. Nobody can any way to answer that question. You should run far away from those people.
Like, I'll give you an example. There's one out or coming out. I think it's called AVBI or something, the stock symbol, and it's a new COVID pill. I believe it's ivermectin, with a different name, because we all know ivermectin works. So I think it's ivermectin with a different name, different formulation, and it's going to come out and it's going to be freaking. So like that is something, as an example, go buy that because it's going to go whoosh. Or, hey, that Tesla just made a deal with this battery company, and, you got to go buy it because it's going to go.
Tesla's trading at 362 times earnings. 362 times earnings. The last fucking stock I want to own is Tesla. And I know it's like a religion to some people that you just pile money into Tesla and somehow it magically keeps going up. 362 times earnings. There's other
That's what
stocks.
it's valued at?
That's the current PE ratio, price to earnings ratio. The price of the stock, the market cap of the company divided by the shares outstanding is 362 times what they're earning annually right now. That's absurd. So I mean,
that's not a good formula.
I like to buy something. I'll tell you something retroactively. I bought Macy's in the recession. All right, in 2020, I bought Macy's. People hate Macy's. People say, the end of retail. Nobody likes Macy's. All these stores are going to die. The malls are going to die. Everything's going to be online. They've been telling us the same fucking narrative since the 1990s. All right, and people that were actually educated and had money, made money, were older people with a real education and real life experience. Those people are being made fun of. Back when CNBC was a real TV station before it was all propaganda. All right, so there were good people on there being made fun of, like, oh, you don't understand the internet economy. Great. So then the dot-com crash came, of course. But that narrative started almost 25 years ago. I've been hearing for more than half of my life, the end of retail, internet. Amazon's got 5% market share. It's over 20 years later. They got 5% market share. And that's great. And Amazon's going to make a lot of money. They made a lot of money. They're going to make a lot more money. It's still not the end of retail. 85% of transactions that happen are still brick and mortar.
So what are your fundamental investment strategies?
We're going to go back to Macy's because you keep poking me for a specific. So I was buying that stock for about $4.50. And I bought a lot of it between $5 and $6. And today it's $28. And I'm looking at that stock at the time and, just being a good Jew and a good nerd, I'm looking at the financial statements. And I think these guys have over $10 billion in real estate. If you liquidated the real estate, not sold it in a good economy. If you sold it in a shit economy for liquidation prices, there's $10 billion there. They got a makeup line that does competition with Sephora. It's called Blue Mercury. That's worth at least $1 billion. They got a credit card company worth $4 billion, call it 3.5. If you looked at their assets, if you netted out the debt, you paid all their bills. You've liquidated the assets, paid all the bills. The company was worth 4.5, 5 times what it was currently trading for. So the book value is trading for 22% of like the liquidation value. So when I can look at something like that and I can pay 22% of their net assets versus 362 times earnings for Tesla, I don't want to own the new trendy thing. I don't want to own the thing that's popular at that moment. I'm not a trader. I'm a long-term investor. I want to make money over time. I don't like any of this get rich quick of buy the trendy thing. It's a bigger fool's game. It's like people buy that. They don't know enough about it. They say, oh, I heard that's really popular. And then they hope that somebody's dumber than them that's going to bid it up even higher.
What about AMC?
What about it?
Is that like going to crash or?
I never bought it. I think, I know some people made money with it, but it's one of these online meme things. But
you've heard the whole, the Wall Street's selling shit that ain't even there and it's going to blow up in their face and all these.
Do you think movie theaters are going to make a extraordinary resurgence all of a sudden? I really don't believe that.
Well, that's what I was asking myself when everyone kept saying go buy it because of this. And I'm like, see, number one, I wouldn't bet against Wall Street. And isn't it the big Wall Street players that are betting against AMC?
Yeah, I know some of the funds by name that were betting against it. They're shorting the stock.
Right, and then that little trickery or whatever the big Wall Street was doing is why you should go buy it because they're going to get their hand in the dude. Listen, I don't think Wall Street's going anywhere, and I think big Wall Street, they're not stupid. They're not doing it because they're stupid. They're doing it because they know something. That's what I meant by it's an insider's game. Like those big dogs know something.
Well, a few people that you're thinking about, whether you know them by name or not. But so there's first the companies are like AMC, Macerich, which is a company that I owned that was also affected in that short squeeze situation that was back in late January 2021. Bed Bath & Beyond was tied up in that, this whole short squeeze thing at the end of January 2021. And, a company called Melvin Capital, they were shorting the hell out of these stocks, and the Wall Street bets people are bidding them up and bidding them up and bidding them up. And it's a little complicated. I can explain to you exactly how a short squeeze works or the mechanics of that. It might be a little dull for your audience, but So basically, Wall Street's betting that those stocks were going to go down even further, and they could borrow a share at a current price, and if it goes down further, they can buy the share back at a lower price and sell it back and keep the spread. So they make money if it goes down. And the people that you're talking about, the Wall Street bets crowd, are betting that it's going to go back up, and they're buying the stock and bidding up the price, creating the short squeeze situation where those big fund managers have to cover their shorts and to not get their account blown up because they're buying it with leverage. All right, so I look at it. I don't want to play these short squeeze games. I know you can make a lot of money in a short squeeze. You can also go bankrupt in a short squeeze, and even with billions of dollars. So Melvin Capital got something like a $2 billion loan from, if I'm not mistaken, from Steve Cohen, who was a big fund guy in New York, and from who's the fella from Chicago? I can't think of his name right now. Bad with names, but there's a big manager in Ken Griffin, and so they know this guy long term, the guy that's managing Melvin Capital. And they give him a couple $1 billion so his fund doesn't get blown up. But it's a little complicated what happened next, and is questionable legality of how they manage that. To your point about the big people having an unfair advantage, but those are rare circumstances, and they stopped trading those stocks. You mentioned Robinhood, so they stopped trading those stocks on Robinhood and a couple other platforms. They made them non-marginable. They made it so you couldn't, short sell them further, et cetera. And that gave some of those big fund managers a window to, cover their short positions and not not lose their asses, to say it bluntly. So, but again, it's not I don't want to do speculative things that, the Wall Street's bets people, these are not the most educated people in the world. And I don't want to do these speculative things, and I don't encourage anybody to do these speculative things. If you accidentally made money in the short term, but you kept taking similar wagers with similar probabilities, you're going to go bankrupt over time. You're just going to do it with a bigger nest egg than you originally started with.
So don't buy AMC stock is what you're saying.
Wow. I don't own it.
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't buy AMC.
Yeah, well, your question, and I think that's technically a fundamental of stock purchasing is, think. Like you said, do you think they're going to come back with a big boom, movie theaters, not just AMC, but any of them? With a big boom, if you think, yeah, I do, okay, well then you should probably buy some of that stock. But if you don't, well then you shouldn't. Just like, I believe that they could come back with a boom. Why? Well, because, dude, I love to go into fucking movies with the popcorn and the bullshit, but I didn't like those stupid little chairs and the, sticky floors, but if they come back with these high-end theaters, I do think people like going to movie theaters. Do you?
I haven't gone to a movie for a long time. I went to a few IMAX shows here and there, but I'm not a television person, though.
Well, I like the on-demand at home, and if movies came out instantly, I think more people would just hit the freaking on-demand at home than go to a theater. But I do think people would go to a theater as a something to do with their kids. It's fun, but no, I don't. Overall, I don't see movie theaters coming back like before unless they make a massive change.
A big point you make, or that we've touched on, is like, I really don't think a person should buy something unless they understand what it is they're doing. And you're not going to, when a crisis happens, that's not the time to learn new skills. You learn skills during calm times. You learn new information and new knowledge during calm times. And, you don't get to go to war with the army that you wish you created when things were calm and peaceful. You get to go to war with the army you created during those calm and peaceful times, with the resources, with the intellect, et cetera. The time to learn that is not like, there's we're in the midst of another recession. You're not going to learn all the things. That'd be like if you had to get in a cage with a UFC fighter, and you're thinking about martial arts on the way to the cage, but you never trained before then. There's nothing you're going to learn in that walk to the cage that's going to save you from what's about to happen.
How much money you got in the stock market?
20-something million, 30 million almost.
And continuing to grow, did it ever scare you and be like, holy shit, it's going
Any bye-bye? Random day, I'm up $1 million, down $1 million, any random day of the week.
And that doesn't bother you?
If $1 million gain or loss gets you too excited, it means you don't have enough money yet. You better keep working. You better get your entrepreneurial game in order and
What do you think of all? Do you think the stock market's going to crash? Obviously not.
I think
or
it's
you
going to
wouldn't
crash
have
a
your
few more
money.
times in our life. And
But with all your money sitting there, why would you have it in there?
do you think this is the peak economy right now? Does this look like a healthy economy? I don't think this looks like a healthy economy. It's propped up with a bunch of government support.
Well, that's the problem. It's propped up. It's got to crash sometime.
It doesn't have to crash, though. It doesn't have to crash. They're not going to raise interest rates in the short term. They might do that in a year. They're not going to raise interest rates in the short term because you would have a bad economy. So you would have a market crash because it is the between the government spending directly of Congress issuing various welfare programs. That's what they are. And then the expansion of the Federal Reserve balance sheet, something like $9 trillion. And then that money makes its way into the market. And then, the big firms use leverage and you have a greater multiple and a greater wealth effect. So something to the tune of 25, 30 trillion new dollars in the economy in a year and a half. So when you have that much money, then, the price of things are going to go up. You still have a fixed supply of assets. There's still a fixed supply of natural resources, real estate, commodities, et cetera. So, the prices are getting bid up on things right now. Do
you stick with the companies that you believe in and use a lot? Like that'd be a rule I would follow. Like, if for example, if you use Facebook a lot, you love Facebook and it's public, well then buy Facebook.
I don't shop at Macy's, but a lot of people do. So I don't have to be a customer to know that it's a popular product, Yeah.
Well, Macy's. A lot of people are buying Macy's buildings.
Yeah.
That I know.
Yeah, they have a big real estate portfolio.
Are they dumping some of their buildings?
Yeah, they are selling some of the buildings.
Are they just shutting down those stores?
The CEO from there made a comment that maybe 5-ish months ago, he made a comment that, well, first of all, people don't know that Macy's is the number 10 online retailer in the country. It's one of the biggest online retailers. They think it's just brick and mortar. Well, that's not true. Their website's doing really well. Arguably, the website's worth more than their brick and mortar stores. But the comment I was going to repeat was that the CEO said that when they close stores, they lose online sales in the areas where they close the stores. And if they close all the stores in an area, their online sales drop dramatically. And it's become more and more obvious to a lot of retailers that they need to both have an online presence and a physical presence, that they optimize sales when they have a omni-channel, they call it, of multiple channels of both physical presence and online. Lululemon recognizes that I don't buy Lululemon products. It's not for me. But, great company and their stock's done well. But, people go there. They might buy 80% of the stuff online, but they never would have made those purchases if they didn't go to the store and touch the product and try it on and look in the mirror. If they didn't have that physical, real world experience, they wouldn't be doing all those online sales. So,
I agree, because a lot of times if you already know the product and you just want another one, you just order it online. But if you haven't, you want to go check it out.
Somebody buys a nice watch like you got there. You just randomly buy that on the internet without seeing one in real life first?
No, I bought this on a cruise ship.
I understand.
I saw it in a cruise ship, and I was wearing a black shirt, and I wanted something to match it, so I bought it.
So you impulse buy of a
I don't buy watches online because they could show up and be fake, and
So let's think about that back to Class A malls. I think a lot of malls are going to close. The low quality malls,
the
they're
little
going to
shit
close.
malls, yeah, where it's dangerous.
Yeah, true, they're going to close. So in this city, that's like the Boulevard Mall is not what it used to be. The Meadows Mall, not
is
what
it
it
even
used to be.
still open? The Boulevard Mall?
Yeah, they are. But they're filling. If you're interested in real estate at all, you should take a look at it for just a case study. That they're filling it with like an aquarium and like various amusement park type attractions to try to fill large amounts of square footage. So it's interesting, but they still have corn dog on a stick there, which
Forum Shops isn't going anywhere.
No, Foreign Shops is Simon Property Group manages Foreign Shops. They're doing great.
Fashion Show ain't going anywhere. Although it is getting a little dicey down there.
Fashion Show is great. Fashion Show is one of the most valuable malls in the world.
Just because location?
Yeah, that's a $2 billion building.
Well, it's getting a little dicey.
Fashion Show?
Yeah. I was down there the other day, man. I thought there was going to be fucking fist fights and shit.
Interesting.
So what are you doing in real estate? Do you prefer real estate over stocks, or Did you say stocks over real estate?
Well, some of the things we're talking about are publicly traded companies that own real estate. So I do own physical real estate, but I only have a couple properties at the moment. Some of the things we're talking about, Simon Property Group, or you just said Fashion Show, that's Brookfield Asset Management, I believe, BAM, I think is the ticker symbol.
Bam!
Mace Rich, these are REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust. So they're publicly traded companies that own real estate. We talked about Macy's a bit. Well, Macy's, fine, it's a retailer, but they own a lot of real estate. McDonald's is a food company, but they own a lot of real estate. So you might be participating in real estate without necessarily thinking of that as their primary business model. There's still, you can have a lot of asset appreciation. A lot of the stock price of McDonald's, of those malls, of the retailers is tied to the real estate that they own, So,
what if someone has $10 million and they don't want to work anymore? They have $10 million and they just want 20.
Smart.
They just want 20. They just want, what was that?
It means they're probably smart. Yeah.
Well, $10 million, they don't want to work anymore and they just want a 20% return safely. Is there such a thing?
I want a lavender unicorn with a sparkly horn.
I can get you one.
I'd like it if I never had to feed it or water it, and it just shit platinum bars in my living room while I'm chatting with you here.
I can do that.
I'd like some of that fantasy shit too, but
20%'s fantasy?
You're not going to get 20% return consistently with no risk. At a time when...
Well, no risk, but low.
The so-called risk-free rate of the moment is less than 1%. So you're going to get a 25x return on that?
Easy, bro. Easy. I can get, for example, 40% a year, pretty fucking risk-free.
I got 372% last year, and I can show you that, and that's risk-free? A real number. No, it's not risk-free.
But low risk?
In terms of a portfolio, I think for the amount of that return, I think it was a much lower risk than people would imagine that's even possible. But
if someone...
To get a 20% risk-free... Bernie Madoff was promising people 1% a month. Bernie Madoff was promising 12%, which is an absurd rate of return over years and decades. It's you can't sustain that.
So how much does one need to retire if they're looking to retire at $2 million a year income?
It's a subjective question. It depends on their taste and preferences of...
But generally... Like, what can you, I guarantee if you said, here, Brad, here's all my money. If I can't make you, and I'll be conservative, if I can't make you freaking 5% a year, then I'm a dumbass, because I can, and I do. So, and I'm not in the stock markets. I'm just other things, but I can make 10 to 20% a year, almost for sure.
I can too. You can do that. I can do that. Now, to then generalize that and say to a general audience,
but if they knew what they were doing,
X dollars.
But if they knew what they were doing, like what's an average? Like folks, you should educate yourself to where you're getting at least on average 10%.
Yeah, the S&P 500. If you look back 35, 40 years, the S&P is delivering about 9%. So if you're not getting a 9% return, that should be a red flag. Now, as far as getting a 20% return, most people would fuck that up trying to do it. Most people should not try to do that by themselves. Something bad's going to happen. And
could they lose it all?
Yeah. You could do nothing and lose it all. You could do nothing and let our government keep doing the shit that they're doing to the economy, and you won't have a country in a few decades.
Now, what do you think about Bitcoin?
I don't.
Crypto. You don't mess with none of that.
It's best speculation in human history. It's been the best speculation in human history, better than tulip bulbs a few hundred years ago in Holland, But
Remember
do you
that?
think
tulip bulbs? They made them very rare.
Do you believe that the U.S. Fed or the European Central Bank is going to give over control of their economy and let any cryptocurrency, however popular it is with the masses, do you believe that the government's going to take their number one tool in which they maintain control of an economy and they're going to just let somebody else take that over?
When you say let them, how do you stop them?
Same way China just did. They said it's illegal to mine new crypto. You can't mine the stuff. You can't invest in it, etc. So that they just make it illegal.
China just did that? Did it cause a drop?
Yeah.
What happens when Elon Musk says you can buy his cars with Bitcoin again?
Elon Musk shits platinum bars like my unicorn.
Yes, he does. So you have no Bitcoin?
None.
No crypto.
None.
So you're just conservative as all get out.
It's worked out pretty well for me.
I know, but it's worked out quite well for others in the crypto space.
Until they go bankrupt later. I'm not going bankrupt.
Well, what are you certain that it's going to go bankrupt?
For that narrative to work out the way that the fans of those cryptocurrencies talk about it, you have to believe that the US government and that the European government they're going to allow the US Fed and the European Central Bank to be replaced by a decentralized currency. That
but if it's not up to them.
But it is up to them.
It ain't up to them.
The U.S. government is more powerful than God. The U.S. government to do anything that it wants to you.
Again, theoretically, supposedly, but if all the people in the world decide to use crypto, they can't stop it. How do they stop it? Make it illegal? Well, who's making it illegal? The same people fucking using it? We're the people.
You can't print your own paper currency. It's called counterfeit. You go to federal prison.
That's because
and when they decide that they're going to issue a digital currency, and that's the official digital currency, and they decide it's illegal to use any other digital currency, then the people that are doing so are going to go to federal prison.
If the people doing so is the small majority, but if the whole United States people decided, well, then we run the shit.
The people of the United States, my grandma's tougher than most men today. My grandma's dead, and she's still tougher than most men that are alive today.
We, the people, run shit, supposedly.
Yeah. Supposedly.
You believe that?
I think it's. I think it was true. I feel like the last couple of years has been amazing what's happened in the country, and the people. They've given up things like freedom of speech, things that I took for granted growing up, and I'm extremely disappointed with what passes for a man today. It doesn't resemble a man of a couple of generations ago.
Well, what are you out there doing about it?
I think I'm doing pretty well, Brad. I'm not.
Are you talking about it?
We're talking about it right now. There's a real problem that.
Are you out there protesting?
No, people that protest tend to be losers. That's called a loser, Brad. That's called a loser. That's somebody. You know who the protesters are? Is a bunch of neurotic people. That they have nothing else to do. They're born into one of the best circumstances ever in human history, and they're extraordinarily unappreciative of the circumstances that they have, and they're mad at you or they're mad at me because we didn't make the world perfect for them. It was supposed to be perfect before they got here, and since it's not
what
perfect,
about, like,
it's
protesters
our fault.
in Australia because they're locking it down.
Well, they have something to protest, and I've been.
Well, I probably you just said they're losers.
You're talking about two different things. If you looked at what happened here in June.
You're talking about two different things. I'm talking about protesters.
We were talking about the United States, and now you shifted continents.
It doesn't matter.
It's your show. You can shift continents. You just shifted continents.
Dude, you don't have to be Antifa and BLM to be a protester. You could protest fucking vaccinations. You could protest anything.
More people should be.
You said protesters are losers. I'm getting clarity because I don't agree with that. Depends on what you're protesting.
Let's talk through that.
If you're an entitled little bitch and you're crying because someone hasn't made it comfortable, I agree with you. But if you're protesting because it's time to stand up and do something about the fucking tyrannical bullshit that's happening, and you do so, I don't think you're a fucking loser.
I agree with that. I think more 100%, people need to. What they call tyrannical in some cases, we got to draw that line in there. And I think you and I are on the same side on this, by the way. But when I see people cry baby and that. The world wasn't perfect, or they were born into it. I think they're pathetic. I think that you see people setting things on fire in the city. You see people vandalizing things and harassing elderly people, harassing normal, decent people.
I call those rioters, not protesters.
It is a rioter. It's a loser rioter.
It's a loser. Criminal.
It is a criminal. People that are out winning, people that are doing something industrious don't have time for that bullshit.
Well, where I was going with it is, what are you doing? Are you protesting? Are you speaking up? Because if you're not, is that smart? Is that not smart? Because there's a whole conversation there. Why? Because you could be like, fuck this. Men need to be men. I'm going to stand up. You're going to start talking. Next thing you know, you're canceled. Mm-hmm. Old Derek Moneyberg's no more. Twitter won't let you on. Instagram won't let you on. If I put you on, I'm going to get canceled, so I don't put you on, and all this shit that's happening right now. Cancel culture. Are you worried about that?
Anybody who's not worried about it simply isn't aware. They're either not aware of the phenomenon or they're not aware of the consequences. So I'm a libertarian by nature. I'm very, pro freedom of speech. Do whatever you want with your life, do whatever you want. But, I think it's very concerning that the people who want to limit your free speech, freedom of speech means, if it means anything at all, it means you have the right to say things that offend someone else. And it doesn't hurt my feelings. If somebody says something I disagree with, it doesn't hurt my feelings. If somebody calls me a mean name, it doesn't hurt my feelings. But, they want to be addressed a certain way and coddled and pampered in certain ways that is disconnected from the reality of what they've really earned for themselves in life. I think that's pathetic. And we're speaking about it right now. And to your point that, if you want to speak too bluntly about those topics, the powers that be don't host you on their platforms. So there's probably a line there where, I think about it this way. I'm like, you know what? If a company exists and they spent billions and billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to create a platform that I can use for free and reach millions of people for free. It's like a mini TV station, but I'm not allowed to say certain things on that platform. So I'll go along with that. I don't necessarily like it, but you know what? If you spent billions of dollars creating something, probably you should have some say about what people are going to say or not say on your platform. In my private life, or conversations with clients, conversations with friends, there'd be no confusion how I'm thinking about the world or what I think is appropriate or inappropriate about various, the line between a protester and a criminal, the line between someone who has a real grievance is protesting for things like freedom of speech, freedom of movement, to live the life that you and I grew up living, the life that you and I knew that America was for all of our life until recently. If people don't speak out about that and people aren't defiant in some ways, they're not going to have the opportunity to in the future. I think it's a very dangerous thing that's happening right now.
But if they speak up, they get shut down.
Well, you just had the whole world rallying around a fake cryptocurrency. So you
just had what?
I said you just 5 minutes ago you had the whole world rallying about. But if the whole world decides they're going to take this currency and we can't organize a few people to speak up for their rights.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Most people won't do it anymore.
Do you know why? In my opinion, I have an opinion. What's your opinion? Why?
I think some of them are, look, people that never went anywhere, they haven't traveled, they don't know, they never read a history book. They haven't been to other countries. They don't understand the circumstances or the consequences of their silence at the moment. I think
it's the same reason why, unless it's drastic, you don't jump up and protect somebody, because number one, you might get your fucking ass kicked. Number two, no one else is going to help. Mm-hmm. So now you're just the sacrificial lamb. Mm-hmm. So because sometimes I get pissed and I'm like, dude, I'm going to start talking about it on social media and I'm going to start talking about it on my podcast and, fuck this and fuck that. And guess what? I look around and it's like, dude, they silenced fucking Trump. Like, I'm not Trump, bro. They silence way bigger people than me. So if I sat here like a little yapping dog, the little fucking chihuahuas that ain't gonna do shit, they're just yappers, and they stomp me down. Well, now what am I doing? Now I'm fucked. So if I thought by me standing up and being the little yapper and I get stomped, that would save the world, I'd yap. Because I'll sacrifice me for the world, because as soon as the world was saved, everyone would be like, look at this motherfucker. He's the one. And they'd elevate me back up, right? So there's no worry. That's why people don't say anything, because all the rest of the people are too fucking pussified to fucking stand up for each other.
That's the correct psychological term, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think. Because when you were saying, men aren't men anymore, I agree. Like, dude, a lot of this shit should be over by now. Like, fuck you and your masks. Fuck you and your mandates. Okay? You don't decide shit. And guess what? If we all could communicate like the government can. See, the government can communicate. They have their meetings. They write their orders. They get their stamps. And there's proof that this decision's been made. Where's our meeting? Where's our official stamp that we, the people, have decided? It doesn't exist, which means there is no we. It's us and them, and they're organized, and we the fuck aren't. And then when we get on social media to start to voice, and then they, for some reason, must be with them, shut the shit down. Well, then nobody even knows what fucking we are saying. Right now, they say we are more vaccinated. I personally don't think that's the case. I personally do not believe the media. I think they fucking lie. So they're saying, hey, the majority of us are vaccinated. It's the unvaxxed. I don't believe the majority of us are vaccinated because when I talk to people, a lot of motherfuckers I know aren't.
Anybody that believes mainstream media today,
It's stupid.
It may not be their fault.
Stupid.
They may have been born stupid.
That's naive. That's naivety.
They might have been born from a parent's ass. There's no telling what happened. But no one should believe anything they see in mainstream media today.
But if we could unite and communicate, just regular people, couldn't we, if we could do that, couldn't we go say, you're impeached, out? Couldn't we say, that's not a law because we don't agree? We're not doing that. And that's what I meant by crypto, because if we could say, fuck you, you're not going to tell us we're not using Bitcoin. Number one, you can't stop it. It's decentralized. You don't know who has it, who doesn't. But that's only if we could communicate. But we can't communicate. And that is our biggest problem in life, in this situation. Nobody can prove that we've all decided. And by the way, you'd have to go with majority.
You're preaching to the choir on a lot of these things. You and I agree entirely on most of these topics. I had ancestors that died in the Holocaust. I have an understanding of where this goes if people don't defend their rights. And the Founding Fathers talked about that. The Founding Fathers are supposed to be demonized now for no good fucking reason because they weren't saints by the modern standard. It's absurd. But anyway, no, they understood that it's a republic if you can keep it, or for as long as you can keep it.
Well, let's talk about the Holocaust for a second. So had they all stood up and said, fuck you, we're not doing this, wouldn't they have still ended up where they ended up?
No.
Because they weren't willingly going anyway, were they?
They didn't understand how bad things were going to get. And it's a incremental, it's a boiling of a frog, which you didn't say those words, but you alluded to that mechanism earlier, that it's a boiling of a frog that if you put a frog into a hot water, they say it'll hop out. I never tested this. I never had that cruelty in my heart to want to test it personally. So I just trust that this is true. But they say if you put a frog in hot water, it'll hop right out. They say if you put it in a room temperature water and then turn the heat up, that it'll stay there and let itself be cooked. And they're turning the heat up on you, and they're turning the heat up on me, and any other reasonable thinker can see that. And if nobody speaks out about it, then
but people are.
They just keep
They're
doing
just
it.
silencing them.
Look, an average what's called
there's
what's
protesters.
called a man.
There's people
What
protesting.
passes for a man today? Okay, the average person's more concerned about their bullshit pissant job than they are about reality. They'll take whatever shot they tell them to take. They'll put a microchip in their head if they tell them to do that. To quote Cardi B, they might put marbles up their ass if they're told to do so. All right? And that's what passes as like a normal guy today.
What if the vaccine was administered by mouth to the penis? Would that change your opinion?
A good chunk of them would go for that, especially the Antifa crowd. They'd love that. They're doing it anyway. They're already behaving that way.
Are you worried about like the federal banking system freezing all your fucking money?
After you release this interview, yes.
No, but I mean, I've always wondered, like, because a lot of people that are wealthy or, they got money. They're like, it doesn't matter. I got money. Dude, if the wrong shit happens, you literally go to your bank, your money's gone. And who do you go talk to? Who are you telling? You go to the bank machine, doesn't work. You call the bank, no one's answering. Who are you calling at Wells Fargo? Who are you calling at Chase? Who's responsible? Your fucking money's only insured up to $250,000. What's that mean? That means that bank goes bankrupt and shuts down. You can't do dick. You worried about that?
Well,
because if the whole world crashes, that's what's going to happen.
If you want to talk about extreme dystopia, then you'd go back to we go back to our crypto conversation and then pivot back to what you just brought up. I could see a reality. I hope it's not true. But I could see a reality where the governments allow this digital currency to catch on, where crypto, Dickcoin, Dogecoin, all these different so-called coins, and at some point they say, you know what, digital currency is very popular among the people. But, there's a lot of confusion. There's some things aren't based on fundamentals. There's a lot of pump and dump schemes. There's a lot of fraud, and, people are being financially hurt with this stuff. We're going to create a digital currency. It's called the digital dollar, for instance. Okay. And then they say that you can't have these other decentralized currencies the same way that you can't go print your own currency in the United States right now. That's called counterfeit, and you go to prison for that, as we discussed. So after they make that digital currency, and you see people are giving up on paper currency. So and that's a natural thing. It's convenient in the short term. I use my credit card all the time, for instance. I use very little cash today. Use very little cash today. I agree.
Which means there's already digital currency.
Right. But when they make it only digital currency, when you get rid of paper currency, and then you get rid of the other, cryptocurrencies that currently exist, if you only had a digital dollar, then, the big data analysts are going to look at that, and they're going to say, just like they do at Amazon, and they make informed decisions, just like they do at every other big tech company to make informed decisions, then the government's going to look at that data, and they say, well, people are spending the money this way, but not that way. And they're going to have their own little schemes that their family members or other people own, because that's the nature of humans. And they're going to say, well, they could do a lot of things with it. They could say that you could have preferred vendors where they say you can spend your money only in these places. They'll call that some social justice nonsense. So you could have preferred vendors where you're only allowed to shop with, support certain type of people or certain demographics of people. But, there might be a penalty towards supporting someone like you or supporting someone like me. You could have the most scary one is expiring currencies. They'll say that if you have X dollars that you're a hoarder. And that's a bad thing for no fucking reason. You're a bad man because you have too much money. And the idiots out there that, so they'll go along with that because nobody's going to defend you for some of the same reasons that you already said. So they'll say, well, if you don't spend it by this time, then it expires. So they could do a lot of terrible things with that to raise taxes, to create preferred vendors, to have expiring currencies. They could do a lot of things to manipulate your net worth over time. And it's a very, anybody who's not aware of that or not paying attention, you're going to be in a bad space in life if that's the direction the world goes. It's not going to be a good thing for most anybody. It's not going to just hurt, wealthy people.
Yeah. So what should people do right now?
If you're not creating as much wealth as you can in the short term, you're not going to have the opportunities. I'm concerned there's not going to be opportunities 10, 20 years from now like we have right now. So, you should be doing everything you can in entrepreneurship and investment to create as much wealth as you can, as soon as you can, not in a get-rich-quick way, but in a responsible way, and educate yourself. How does an economy work?
Quickly.
The best time to learn something is, in the past. The second best time is right now. And the longer a person procrastinates, the less time you have to compound the gains of the intellectual gains, the financial gains of that wisdom. So, a person that's not learning things every day, they're at an extraordinary disadvantage over somebody who's made a lifestyle of doing that.
If I were to join one of your groups, do you give me the investments that you're in, and do you or are you just teaching me how to look at them, how to read them?
I talk about how to look at markets in general and in extreme, equal detail as an Ivy League graduate school would teach you. And then a lot of real life experience of how I made money myself, how friends made money. There's a chat group with other people on there that are serious people that are doing serious things with their life, that you're paying for access to me, you're paying for that information, you're paying for the social network. And, the people that take that seriously have done extremely well. Many of them have. And
you say your brand was started in 2019. Before that, you were just practicing?
I did coaching with another friend and I. We built a company starting back 2003 that we did, had coaching programs and helped people with, self-help area. And I was always interested in business. I built businesses. I made my life this way. And this is what I want to do. But I don't want mainstream clients. I want people that they're already good at something. They're very serious. They're very ambitious. Sometimes people on the internet mistake me for a motivational coach. I'm not here to fucking motivate a bum. I don't want to push a loser up a mountain. He's already got to be climbing the mountain, and he wants to do that, more tactfully with greater probability of success. He's already got to be moving in that direction. Happy to help somebody that
what
is.
Level of business owner should be?
I got kids that are 19 years old that are employees elsewhere, and they're making serious money. They're getting raises, they're getting promotions, they're getting bonuses. And I got some people that are older, that are in their 50s or 60s, and they want to do better with what's left of their life as well. So it's not, you start where you're at. I don't care if they have a negative net worth. If there's some young kid out there that right now is in debt from student loans. He's smart, he's ambitious, or she's smart, she's ambitious. They're trying to be a serious person and have a great quality life, and they may have a negative net worth right now. But if they're trying to do something, I can help. But I'm not there to motivate a bum. That's all.
Now, can you help them figure out what their net worth is?
Of course. That's a little arithmetic.
You have a little balance sheet?
It's a little balance sheet.
Do you ever have anybody that comes that is that naive or new, where they don't even know what their net worth is?
A lot of people are that way, but at least they're taking action to do better. They're trying to understand what's my current situation and how do we do better tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that, and start getting some traction and really building something.
Well, dude, if this episode doesn't get pulled, from all the conversation, there's going to be a lot of people wanting to look more into you. Folks, you go to Derek Moneyberg, at Derek Moneyberg on social media. Do you drop nuggets on there, or do you have a social media presence?
Every
or
day.
Is it private?
Every day. Millions of followers online, and every day
Millions
we have new
of
content.
followers. Damn, dude.
Just on Instagram, 3.3 million at the moment.
Oh, shit. How'd you get that many?
I'm Derek Moneyberg.
What do you mean?
They came to me.
Derek Moneyberg. I'll have to look it up. I don't follow you. I'm going to now, though. 3.3 million followers. That's pretty freaking strong. Now, are they like freaking real followers?
No, we have real engagement. If you look at other people that have, purport to be business people in that space, my engagement rates are much higher, and they're real followers and real people, and I have better engagement rates than anybody else.
I got a real life celebrity sitting in front of me then. I see the coin and the branding. This looks like freaking, your hair is your trademark. You always have long hair, do you?
I'll tell you a story about the hair briefly. Is 2009, early 2009, it was a different recession, and we're in Las Vegas right now. And I used to buy a lot of these casinos. In December 2008, I started buying a lot of casino stocks. I grew up in and out of Vegas my whole life, so I knew Vegas pretty well. And I'm not interested in gambling, but I spent a lot of time in the casinos, and I have a good sense of how that business works, So Las Vegas Sands, it went from about $150-something, and I started buying that stock at $6, and it went down more, and I bought more. I doubled my position at $4, and then it kept going down, and I doubled that position at $2 from 150-something, 153, 156, something like that. And I ran out of money. I didn't have any more money to buy anything else. I had assets. I owned stocks and some real estate. I had no more cash. I had to make a decision one day to pay for a haircut or buy more stocks, and I bought more stocks. Now, later on, I sold that stock, Las Vegas Sands specifically. I was selling that in the 40s. It went up to like $89. So I was selling it $42, $44, $46. And I made a lot of money with that stock. And but it's been kind of an inside joke with myself that better to buy real estate or stocks than pay for haircuts. So it's still long.
That's funny. So you're in and out of Vegas a lot. I'm going to have you back, for another episode. Interesting dude, Derek Moneyberg, folks, entrepreneur, investor, wealth coach to the royalty, showing them how to spend their dough. If you guys are interested in hooking up with this dude, go to moneyberg.com, BERG, or follow him at Derek Moneyberg to get the free nuggets you drop.
Thanks for having me on, Brad.
My pleasure. What else would you tell them?
Yeah, exactly what I said. If it's not for anybody, I don't want to work with people that are trying to get rich quick. It's not a scheme. It's not. You're going to learn something. You're going to work hard. If a client comes to me, you're going to work hard. You're going to put in 20 hours a week for 10, 12 weeks that we're going to work together. We're going to spend personal time together, plus a lot of other assignments. If you don't do the assignments, we kick them out of the program. If they don't show up to the calls, we kick them out of the program. It's not for half-ass people. If you're a serious person that wants to do better with your life, really happy to help.
Where can they learn? Moneyberg.com?
Find me on social media. Then if Instagram's a great one, or whatever social media platform you're on, I'm probably there. And I have webinars and training sessions that they get a good understanding of what we would do together and how that would help them. And I'd recommend you go through one of those free webinars, free training sessions, get a good sense if it's for you and you're the right type of person for what we do. Again, happy to help serious people. If you're already motivated, you're already doing something well, happy to help you get good at this as well.
Where's that accent from?
I grew up in Illinois, but, I traveled so damn much. I've been to 66 countries. I traveled everywhere that I don't think the accent fits in any place anymore.
It almost sounds like it's from Manitoba or something.
I hear that. I hear Canada. I hear Connecticut. I hear all sorts of things. But, I don't think it blends anywhere anymore.
And you got a little film crew following you around.
Not a little film crew. These people help me with a lot of things. So.
But you chop this content up and drop it on a regular basis. So if people are following you, there's something to follow.
Yeah, every day.
I always get people saying, follow me. And I'm like, fuck, dude, you don't post anything. What am I supposed to follow? It's fucking crazy.
Post new content every day on a lot of the platforms, twice a week on YouTube, every day on the other platforms.
What's your YouTube channel?
Derek Moneyberg.
Derek Moneyberg, folks. Go out and find him. Until next time, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.